I would be crapping myself. Like, that is disgusting to have you and that word in the same sentence. Couldn't be me. Could not be me. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to Let's Discuss, where today we're talking about the SACCONEJOLYs. And I was sent this headline. It was like sort of like a journalist publication that we're going to be reading through today, and it's going to tie in to another piece that I came across last month, published by The Guardian, and they're basically saying that more laws need to be put in place to stop child exploitation over on the internet. And who do we know that exploits their children more than most? The SACCONEJOLYs. So instantly when I read the very original headline by The Guardian, I was thinking like, yes, and we're like, I don't know if there's been any more like hubbub, like talk being drummed up since then, but I did find that headline extremely captivating when I very first read it. So that is the Guardian piece that was out last month. Absolutely fresh off the bat. If you Google the SACCONEJOLYs and you click on news, it will come up with every single article piece that they've ever been a part of. Have a little look. There's all of the different ones. There's stuff from News Talk, The Irish Sun, Irish Examiner, Indy 100, Sky News, infamous Sky News, Daily Mail, Hello Magazine, Bubbly Burst. One which comes up, which was published 4 weeks ago. The title is MPs plead for new protection laws following the SACCONEJOLYs and rings that target kidfluencers. That very opening headline is just, it's really something, isn't it? It's really, really something. And they do, a lot of people say it in my comment section as well, the type of content which they make is extremely questionable, and it does bring in the types of people that you do not want round your house, that you do not want viewing your content, if you see what I mean. And it's just made so readily accessible, and we see it even now with the over sexualization of Edie, which is what I've sort of picked up on, and it's what a few of my other commenters have picked up on as well. This is extremely strong. This is the very first headline that I've seen where it's really going after the SACCONEJOLYs, because if you actually take a look on all of their news articles, a lot of them are just, they don't really go in on Jonathan. They just sort of go like, there's one that says, I've deleted all my YouTube videos for the sake of my kids. Irish vloggers, SACCONEJOLYs delete thousands of videos. The internet is not as safe as it was, says Irish vlogger. And that was like a month ago, which he's just such a liar at this point. But this is the very first one that I've seen where they're saying that the MPs are pleading for new protection laws. And then, because we already know that is happening, with this Guardian article that came out that I was just talking about, where they're saying that MPs are coming forward saying we need to stop child exploitation on the internet. But this is the very first piece of journalistic coverage that I've seen where it's actually saying the name of the family, is saying the SACCONEJOLYs as a pinpoint, as like, you know, as like setting an example for what not to do. So we're going to give this one a little read, and I hope you don't mind us reading it. Can you imagine being Jonathan and catching wind of this? Okay. While family vloggers gripped YouTube in the early 2010s, the accounts monetizing its supposedly kid-friendly content has since undergone a tomato pelting in the court of public opinion. Gone are the attitudes of innocent and playful fun, which is true. I mean, I never used to watch YouTube families back then, but I do remember there was a lot more support was shown towards these family vloggers and even mummy vloggers to a certain degree, and it's all sort of been stripped back and the results aren't very nice. Now, skeptics are rightfully questioning the lack of protection such famous kid influencers have, unable to consent to their image being used for their family's gain. Yeah, literally, people's argument is that they can consent to this and they just can't. One such family is the SACCONEJOLYs, an infamous household of 6 plus 6 dogs that filmed their day-to-day lives on YouTube. During the 2010s, the family exploded into popularity but have since been criticised for the exploitation of their... Interesting, is all I'm trying to say. Though not directly mentioned in the report, the virality of such discussion seems to have caught the attention of the UK Parliament as MPs warn that child influencers in the country must be protected from exploitation. It goes on to show that there are so many laws put in place for child actors, for child models, for child singers and all of that. And these are laws which you won't even necessarily know about because it's a part of the industry, but there are laws, there are working protection laws for kids under the age of 18 or 16 that are put in place to ensure that a child is properly managed, the money isn't going all the way to the parents and all of that. I mean, take it for instance right now. I mean, Jonathan is literally talking about moving house, and he's talked about it more and more and more. I'd say that that's no longer a prediction. That is something that is actually going to happen because he's been talking about it so much. But they're now probably going to be downsizing, or, you know, if they're wanting to act, you know, if they're wanting to do things sensibly. If not, they're just cutting their nose off to spite their face by upsizing. But I don't know. But this is what I mean. Like, have they blown all of that money? Have they put some of that away for their kids? Who knows? Who knows at this point whether or not they've actually saved? We know some mummy vloggers, for instance, like Love Meg. She doesn't save towards her kids, although she doesn't push her kids out as much. There are loads of family channels that don't do that, that just think the money is going to keep on rolling in, and we know that it just doesn't. The rise of influencer culture online has brought significant new opportunities for those working in the creative industries and a boost to the UK economy. However, as it is so often the case where social media is involved, if you dig below the shiny surface of what you see on screen, you will discover an altogether murkier world where both the influencers and their followers are at risk of exploitation and harm online. That is so interesting. They say where both the influencer and their followers are at risk of exploitation and harm. That's really, really interesting. You don't normally see it from the other perspective, but I suppose in some sort of way the followers are going to be at risk of being exploited as well. In a landmark report published, it was cited that many children were being exploited by their own parents online, aiming to capitalise on the kidfluencer market. Not only did the investigation unveil vast regulatory gaps surrounding their protection and advertising rules, but it also highlighted the potentially lifelong mental health consequences of being exposed to evidenced harassment and kidnapping threats. Bringing that back to the SACCONEJOLYs, for instance, now Jonathan has always said that he lets the kids read the comments, but then on a live he said that that's not really true. He just said that to troll people. If he does let the kids read the comments, I mean, there was a study that was done 9th May 2022 saying that it causes mental health consequences happen, and we can only imagine. I think the reason why they wanted to make an article on the SACCONEJOLYs is that the SACCONEJOLYs are the absolute pinnacle of that. I mean, they're using something that is so unbelievably personal, Edie's transition, and they're using it and they're exposing her to all of these comments and to this really harsh reality that the world isn't always so accepting. And that is terrifying. And I'm pretty sure the SACCONEJOLYs have also been, I'm pretty sure a little while ago I remember them saying that they used to have people that used to send them letters and things saying that they were going to kidnap their kids. And then yet they still carried on because the money was just way too important. The concept is relatively new, as in it hasn't been around for that long. The impact it has on a child's development could be indefinite. One such case has been around public concern for the SACCONEJOLY child that the internet has titled EE, who was born Eduardo and later changed to Edie, has made headlines for having their transgender journey documented online, one that some argue they were pushed to do, with others allegedly evidencing that E has previously stated that they didn't identify as either gender. The family challenged those claims on Sky News. Yeah, and I think the reason why they went on Sky News was basically just to try and convince everyone that they weren't actually terrible parents, and they were trying to get the rest of the UK and, you know, world on Sky News, Sky Morning News with their cup of coffees to say that what they're doing is a great thing. But at the end of the day, it's just not. Like, it wasn't a great thing for them to do because they just came off looking really foolish and silly. Like, that he just came off, it came off, I don't know, it made it look even worse in my eyes. TikTok onslaught married with the exposing resurged 2019 documentary on the family titled Stacey Dooley Sleeps Over eventually led the YouTuber parents to delete their entire channel, and just like that, thousands of videos were scrubbed clean from the internet. Thanks to such clearance of their content, Screenshot is unable to accurately substantiate the accusations made above by social media users. However, it may be likely that such viral issues have played a part in parliamentary discussion around the subject, leading MPs to worry about the dark side of kidfluencer culture. If that is true, and that has made Parliament respond and prompted them to start, you know, to call to action on this, then Jonathan putting all of those, or Jonathan basically retracting what he was saying and putting his kids back online, just adds more fuel to the fire, in the sense that it makes him look even worse than he already does. Like, just like boiling it all down, if there's a law put in place for, you know, saying that you can't do X, Y, and Z, you can't show your kids this much, or whatever law, if a law decides to come in, what is Jonathan and Anna going to do? They're going to have to go and get regular jobs like all of us. They're going to have to stop showing their kids. And if they refuse to do that, will that mean that they'll be in trouble? I mean, if these laws were already be put in place, like he'd be in prison, I swear on my life, because the amount of oversharing that he has done on all of his kids, especially Edie, is just absolutely ludicrous. Sarah Adams, otherwise known as Mum Chartered on TikTok, previously spoke to Screenshot as part of an investigation into the phenomenon of such mummy ran accounts and the dangers of sharenting. For Adams, the issues surrounding kidfluencers boil down to three major points. 1, the exploitation of children for fame and financial gain. 2, privacy and consent. Children cannot give informed consent, as well as their rights to privacy infringed upon. And 3, the disregard or lack of knowledge on the dangerous potential consequences for the child's online safety. She went on to state that, worryingly, not only does the world of hyper-consumerism and materialism inadvertently poison children with unhealthy ideals, but their overexposure online makes them susceptible to a dark web of rings. That is such a good point. We know, well, we definitely know, you look at all these big families and they have the fancy cars and they have the massive great big houses, and it's just something that they'll think is just going to continue going on and on and on. And the reason why people make social media and do it like that, like do it full scale where they're full on like showing their kids all the time, is to make money, because it goes beyond. I sometimes think that some of these families start with good intention, meaning that they just want someone to relate to and all of this, and then it then gets to a point where they're building and building and building, and they're no longer like, you can't communicate with that many people on a regular basis, so you don't really love your fans. You may talk to a couple of them every now and again, but you don't know those people. So it just goes beyond, it goes beyond doing it as a hobby. It goes beyond just doing it to connect with people. It becomes a money-making machine, because the thing is with YouTube is that it just continues, for channels like that, it's just exponential. It just speeds up and speeds up, speeds up. And then your whole life is then revolved around making this content and making more money. And with that just comes the bigger house, the bigger cars, and all of this kind of stuff. And that must be so weird and damaging to a young child, just having parents that are constantly driven to get latest things and make more money and being given all of these different things. It creates a really off perception of how life is going to be, because social media may not be the same as it always, as it was, and the fact that it'll be easy to shot up to fame and get a lot of money. The internet may change completely, and they may not find it easy to make money online, and they've grown up with this complete false reality of what making a lot of money normally without social media is. Interestingly, Dooley posed a question that touches upon the same topic to Jonathan JOLY in the documentary. Oh yeah, this bit. How would you feel in your heart of hearts if it became apparent that have been looking at your children has been over your children, for example? The bit where Jonathan says, it's such an odd question, I don't know how you'd feel. Obviously, is it a terrible thing? It's like, I don't really know how to answer. I don't really make content for that purpose. I just make it as difficult as I can for my content to be consumed that way.
It's such an odd question, because how would you, like, I don't know how you'd feel. Like, obviously is it a terrible thing? It's like, I don't really know how to answer, like, because I would say, like, you know, because all I do is I don't know, I don't really make content for that purpose.
I'm just going to tell you right now, he does not make it difficult for his content to be consumed that way. I'm pretty sure now they've like taken down all of the videos which are, you know, obviously the bath videos and, you know, potty training, anything that's related to bath time, potty time, anything like that. They may have taken that down, but to say that he doesn't think of it that way, or he doesn't, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. And I know there's a lot of people out there who they go, no, he makes content for that kind of thing. And I just think maybe to think that is an extremely, I would never like to think that about anyone, even Jonathan. But I do think that he's never careful with the kind of, you know, like, you only have to go on his TikTok, for instance, and you see some of the stills and things, and the stills of their kids and stuff, and it's like, they have such a large audience, and he must know that all of this exists, yet he doesn't care. He does nothing to try and limit it. If at some point he was told, like, oh, do you know that so-and-so's could be watching this, he could have that option there and then to go back over everything and double check and make sure that it's completely safe, it can't be used. But for him to say, I make it really, really difficult on purpose, I just don't buy that whatsoever. You see that even now with the way that he dresses Edie, and yes, Edie may want to dress like that and things, but for dressing like that and putting on a lot of makeup and stuff, even though I hate like stepping back in time and being like, you shouldn't dress like that because it attracts the wrong kind of people. Unfortunately, this isn't you just going out into town. This is the internet where, like I've already said, people will take screenshots, people will repost it to places you don't want to know. You're a lot less likely, if you go dressing like that walking down the street, for people to stop and take a picture or whatever. It'd be extremely rare for that to ever happen, but people on their own, in their own homes, do whatever they want. And unfortunately, that's just the way it will probably ever be online, and it's sick. But that does happen, and the fact that Jonathan just doesn't ever seem to think that that's even a possibility, because I remember watching that Stacey Dooley thing and he was just almost like, he was kind of taken aback by it. He didn't expect it, but it's like, that should be something that should be going through your mind at all times when you make family content, especially at the level that they used to do. The report concluded its findings by stating that it is deeply concerned that the lack of action in the booming influencer market will lead to even more children in the industry being exploited with potentially lifelong consequences, with it becoming a booming element in the UK market, which I think is like ridiculous, like the kidfluencer market. Has anyone else been given those adverts like, does your child want to be a child model and all of that? And I'm like, no. The committee which led the investigation are calling for stronger child labour laws that can better combat the complexities of the kidfluencer industry, implementing limits on working hours, protection of their earnings, as well as enforcing the child's right to erasure. This is exactly what needs to be done. Implementing limits on working hours, yes, just like child actors and any child that works in the industry. The protection of their earnings, yes, exactly like what they have on the children in proper industries, and the money gets put into a separate account away from their parents. We don't know for sure if the SJs have even, you know, have saved any of their money. And some people may say, no, they blatantly have done. How do you know that? Just as well as I don't know for sure if they haven't. You just don't know. As well as enforcing the child's right to erasure. And Jonathan does bang on about this. My coffee's actually gone cold. Jonathan does actually bang on about this all the time, saying that, oh, I can erase it whenever I want, I can erase it, but can you really erase it? I'm not buying it. There's not like a magic button that can just erase absolutely everything. And as we now know, I mean, he's erased all the videos that people keep on making TikTok compilations of, because people have like screenshotted it and it's now on the internet forever. That's never going to be possible. And I think Jonathan's mentality at the moment is just to put your head down and just run through it, just carry on going despite what everyone's telling you. But if he has seen this article where someone is quite literally putting him and that P word, podophile, if that with Jonathan's name, like SACCONEJOLYs next to it, I would be crapping myself. Like, that is disgusting to have you and that word in the same sentence. Couldn't be me. Could not be me. Anyway, so what do you guys think about that? I will leave linked below both articles, this newest article and the article that was released last month. I will leave them both linked down below so you guys can have a proper look. If you want, get right into some MPs, try and find out which MPs you could be writing to. I definitely want to see if I can get involved in that, because I think that would actually be better use of my time rather than sitting here just droning on and on and on about the SACCONEJOLYs all day. So yeah, definitely have a little look. And I think that I'm never advocating for absolutely children must never be shown on the internet. That's never what I'm trying to say, like, ever. I do think there's a place for it, but what I don't think is acceptable is working your kids online and dressing it up as, oh, we're just a family channel, and actually you're not. You're working your kids and you're not actually saving that. If you're not saving that money that your kids are working for, that just makes you the worst of the worst and making them do things when they don't really want to do it. That's just my own personal opinion, but I really, really hope you did enjoy this video. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next one.